talking with Dr. Erica Colon, who's the founder and CEO of Nitty Gritty Science, where she designs and publishes science curriculums for grades K through 12. She created the Champions for Science virtual conference series to help science teachers with remote learning challenges during the 2020 school year. Thank you so much, Erica, for taking a few minutes to chat with me.
Thank you for having me. This is wonderful.
So can you just start by talking to me a little bit about Nitty Gritty Science? Like what is it? Where did it come from? How did you get here?
Absolutely. Well, I won't go into the whole detail, but this is where I started. I have been teaching in the classroom. I was in the classroom for a dozen years, 6th grade through 12th grade. And then I kind of was moving forward in my career. And I said, you know what, I love teaching, but there was a lot of new teachers coming in and they were kind of getting lost, science teachers. So I went back and I got my degree to work with pre-service science teachers so I could start training them to be science teachers. Well, life did one of those, 180s on you. So my first daughter was born. We had some health issues and I was not able to go back to work. I had to stay home and take care of her for a while. So once everything was better, she still needed monitored. So she was healthy. She was getting better, but she needed monitored. So we were home all the time, but I just needed something for my brain to do. Well, I just couldn't sit at home and worry about her all the time. So I started thinking like, well, I think I can still help science teachers. And I'm thinking if it was me and I had all this time to create curriculum that I could use in the classroom and I actually now have time to create it, well then, okay, I'll just start creating it and then maybe other teachers can use this curriculum. So I started just creating everything that I wish that I had in my classroom, which took a lot of time and that I could never actually finish because it's always crazy with teaching. And I just started building and creating and designing all this curriculum that was really engaging for students, that helped teachers so they didn't have to go and scour the internet themselves. They could just grab this curriculum and then they could just teach themselves and just not have to worry about that. And then Nitty Gritty Science was born. So then I have been doing this since 2012. And the amount of science teachers that I'm working with now far exceeds my expectations. And I am just thrilled working with all these teachers across the globe, not just in like one area that I would have at the college that I was about to teach at. Now I'm working with science teachers everywhere.
That's awesome. I mean, life has the funny way of throwing.
At the time, I was like, okay, this is not what I was expecting. But, you just got to take a step back sometimes and it's usually for the best.
Absolutely. And seeing opportunity also in areas where maybe you didn't before. So, right. So can you talk to me a little bit about the Champions for Science, the virtual conference series?
Absolutely.
How did you come up with it? What are you looking to achieve with it? And how have they gone so far?
So now, because I've been working with all these science teachers with Nitty Gritty Science, as we all know, 2020 hit and the pandemic hit, and March, I've kind of made a lot of connections with all these science teachers. So they were kind of reaching out to me saying, hey, what should I do now? I'm at home, I'm doing digital, I'm doing remote learning. And this is something I had never experienced before in all my teaching career. And I just felt I could give them advice, but it wasn't enough. And I didn't know the tools and the apps and everything that these teachers were trying to struggle to learn in such a short amount of time. And so I thought, okay, listen, through all this time I've been with Nitty Gritty, I've also made tons of connections with other educators and curriculum developers and science teachers and science communicators. And so I thought, let's just bring them all together. Let's see what they have to offer. And let's try to help as many teachers as we can at once. So we went ahead and started Champions for Science. And that's kind of where the series came from. And we had to do it a little bit. We had to break it up because there are different apps needed for the middle school teachers that, high school teachers aren't going to use. And then high school teachers really needed more virtual labs and they needed a little bit higher level distance learning tools. So we split it up between middle school and high school. And then as we were going on, everything went digital, everything. Everybody was saying, I need digital worksheets, digital labs, I need digital. And I said, whoa. We need to step back for a second, because if we make this entire school year for our science students digital, we are going to lose so many scientists because they thought, wait a minute, what about labs? What about the hands-on engagement, the messes that's up? So I said, hey, I know you're home and I know students are home, but there are ways that we can still do hands-on engagement. So we did our final piece to our Champions for Science series, which was called Demo Days. And I got all the educators and teachers together again, and we came up with all these ways that teachers could be showcasing demos. And we got all these ideas for demos and labs where students could find things around their house, like straws and popsicle sticks and balloons. And we really wanted to show them, like, you can still do the science applications at home, and this is how you can show your students how to do it, because we want them to stay excited about science, and we wanted to see them still engaged and loving science, and that it not all turn digital, because I think it just was getting everybody so burnt out. So those were our 3 conferences for the Champions for Science.
That's incredible. And I think the fact that, and again, I know this probably sounds automatic to you, but the fact that you were thinking about what we would call attendee mechanics and all of this kind of stuff, especially when thinking about it in a wider context of the pandemic, and what is the value that these people are getting out of it. So who is it that they need, rather who is it that I think they should have, right, in front of them. All that kind of stuff is oftentimes, like, you have to run a few of these to suddenly realize, like, oh, I got to get out of my own head. So it's just amazing to see that you kind of were quite deliberate in terms of why it was that you were putting these on, and I love that. So awesome. And so specifically about HeySummit, what are some elements about the platform that were useful to you, or that you found most valuable when you were using it?
Well, right from the beginning, I was so excited when I found HeySummit, because I put my first conference together within 3 weeks, that first middle school one. And I know at that time I couldn't go get a web developer to help me. I have no clue when it comes to web design. I'm just like, it's just like gobbledygook to me. And I knew I needed to get this out soon because we were heading into fall. So when I found HeySummit, and I thought, you just need to take your components and plug them in, and you guys had everything all set up where I could add my speakers in there, and the sessions could be added, and I could change their times, and everything just kind of populated in there. And I was like, oh my goodness. So I didn't have to worry about, showing people where to get for the schedule, because it was so user friendly to get all that out there. So I was able to kind of figure out as I went along all the different elements you have. And I'm still learning elements, because if you were to see my first one, my middle school, and the one I'm doing this year, you'd be like, dang. I'm like, dang, I love it. It looks so good this year. And, when I look at other people's online conferences, and I'm just going to give myself a pat on the back, and it's not just me. I have a couple people on my team that help me, but ours looks so professional. And it looks so good. It looks like we have spent years working on this, and it's beautiful. It's blowing my mind.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much also for sharing that and giving shout outs to some of the automation features that we have. So thank you again, Erica, for just taking a few minutes to talk about your fantastic events. And folks, if you're watching this, you can find out more about Erica and her work, both on Instagram and on Facebook at either Nitty Gritty Science, so at Nitty Gritty Science, and also at Champions for Science. Yes. Thanks so much again, Erica.